Let's see if we can set this up here. Cooperate. That's not cooperating. Just because you're an empty pack of cigarettes doesn't mean you can't also be a brilliant little cell phone stand. Broaden your horizons, my friend. Oh, you gotta stay. This is not working. I just want this shit to hold this for me. Ah! OCD, OCD. Don't worry, there's nothing wrong with me. Okay. Ah! Fucking piece of shit. Okay. That's just gonna have to be how good it is. Maybe I can use a cigarette pack over here. Oh, fancy. Okay. Well, mine just cut out right when I was getting to the point of basically our system is broken as long as that non-indictment rule exists, because if the crimes that you committed related to getting elected, all you have to do is make sure you commit enough crimes to get elected, and then you can get away with those crimes. That's preposterous, but that's the system we have set up, and that needs to be fixed immediately. You know, right after we send this motherfucker to jail. So, what are your thoughts on this timeline, man? Anything I forgot to discuss? You got people thinking that the CIA created the Taliban. You got people thinking the CIA is hiding Nazis and aliens and oh my God, Nazi war criminals went here. Yep, we found a bunch of them. Extradited most of them. There were people who happened to be from Germany who weren't Nazis. And there's a lot of propaganda that says they are Nazis. But it turns out most of them are Jews. Oh, maybe that's why they want us to hate them. Oh, yeah, I forgot. They're Jewish Nazis. That must be it. Like Obama. Remember? Yeah, yeah. He's black, but he's Hitler. Well, I was just about to ask if his signal got any better, and then I see Conway dropped. His internet's been fucking up all morning, so it's difficult to stream. But anyways, to recap from the previous little thing where I was talking about what YouTube is covering up, what YouTube is covering up is the obviously connected conspiracy. If they're going to suppress the one person who's connected the dots, and they're trying to make all the different dots turn into arrows pointing at the United States government, then I would think that they have something to hide from the United States government. You know, because you always have to discredit the investigators. We've got decades and decades of Russia and terrorism working side by side, basically. And then they took a break. You know, they just like stopped talking for a while. You know, they were just seeing other people. And that's when 9/11 happened. And then after that, they got back together. But they couldn't have possibly been together, supposedly. Supposedly, they couldn't have possibly been together. Here, just in case you couldn't tell I was being sarcastic. They couldn't have possibly been together. You know, maybe just, you know, fucking around a little here and there. Huh? Get a little side action. Where there's a conspiracy to cover up, there's a crime. YouTube is engaged in a conspiracy to cover up the connection between Russia and terrorism. In fact, there is a seemingly vast conspiracy to cover this up. But on YouTube, in particular, you should be able to talk about these things, whether they're right or wrong. I'm simply making my case. I'm not making anything up. I'm not spreading fake news. I'm not paying to promote an illicit post. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm not causing any trouble. I'm simply pointing the truth out about an evil government. That's something that YouTube has made millions off of, probably billions and billions of dollars, when it comes to attacking the United States government. I try to mention that Russia is helping spread all of this stuff about the United States government. I try to speak on behalf of the United States government. I try to support the United States government, and YouTube suppresses me. So you got a Russian mobster who knows about Al Qaeda already. Already, that is just weird, okay? That Russian mobster spends the brief little peacetime we had, basically, between the end of the Cold War and the rise of Putin. He spends that period of time informing our government about Al Qaeda. He then goes to work for Donald Trump. Donald Trump builds 2 towers in New York City in a fucking hurry, right after Putin comes to power. One of those towers is across from the United Nations building. The perfect place to be if, say, something bad should happen to the fucking Trade Center. Felix Sater, the Russian mafia guy who works at Trump Tower, happens to know about Al Qaeda. Those are his 3 main attributes: Russian mob, Al Qaeda, Trump Tower. And then we have the big thing that YouTube doesn't want to mention, might relate to Russia, might relate to Al Qaeda. If only Russia and Al Qaeda could relate in some way. If only there was some person that connected the two with Trump Tower, like, oh yeah, Felix Sater. They forget to mention the connection between Trump and 9/11. Chances are he was the one who put up the money for the building. I don't know if it was actually his money. But he had some serious interest in that place. And it was his best good friend, Larry Silverstein, who wound up getting the lease on it. And all the YouTube conspiracies and all the king's horses and all the king's men just don't want to put that Humpty back together again. Because they don't like what it means. They don't like what it could do. They don't like the truth. The truth is, Donald Trump was friends with Larry Silverstein. Larry Silverstein is the center of 9/11 trutherism. Donald Trump also engaged in seeding 9/11 trutherism and then wound up on Alex Jones's fucking show twice. Did Alex Jones ever mention Larry Silverstein? And that Donald Trump said he was great friends with Larry Silverstein? Not once. Did he know? Of course. But why wouldn't he say that? He's a 9/11 conspiracy theorist. Why wouldn't he say one of the weirdest parts about the 9/11 conspiracy? Because he's engaged in a cover-up. He was engaged in a cover up from the beginning. By accusing the United States government of being behind 9/11, he was effectively doing Al Qaeda's dirty work from the beginning. And Al Qaeda is just a quasi Russian intelligence entity. Nothing more. It is a result of their cooperation with the Saudis, which we now see the ongoing consequences of with the Khashoggi murders. Murder. Although it was so fucking brutal, it should count as multiple murders. They like killed the guy 5 times at once, for fuck's sake. I mean, Jesus Christ. And I told y'all long before Trump took office, just wait and see who's the one really cooperating with the fucking dirty, dirty Saudis and everyone else. And I said Saudis in particular. Because people talking about the Clintons and the Saudis. Yeah, the Clintons and the reform activists in Saudi Arabia, the civil rights and journalism and women's rights activists in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, the Clintons are going to have something to do with Saudi Arabia. Just like they had something to do in Africa with the whole fucking stopping AIDS and then Ebola. They had something to do in Afghanistan. It was like, oh, setting up schools for girls. I know, how dare those dirty, nasty fucking Clintons set up schools for... It is terrifying to see how many people are enslaved. Absolutely enslaved. Demon-possessed. That's all that it is. It's this psychological warfare instrumentation that has been so successful. It's just saddening. Because the fact that it works just means that's how many people's minds are appallingly weak. That's how many people are so narcissistic and they're just not even concerned about reality. So that when political season comes around and one person wants to talk shit about another person, they have no context. They don't understand fucking history. They don't get that, like, there were events and, you know, people exhibit character and things happen and history is made. Then the political season comes around and it's like fucking EA and fuck, Jesus Christ. YouTube, for some reason, not only doesn't want any progress made, doesn't want any actual spiritual enlightenment happening, doesn't want anybody to bear spiritual relevance towards world events in any other way than serves the purpose of an anti-American conspiracy, an anti-American government conspiracy. You never see, ever see, ever, 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 never, ever see anything reminding people how to be proper Christians and not to spiral down the path of hypocrisy and judgmentalism. Certainly never see that on YouTube. You see why religion should be banned. And you see plenty of fucking... They will never say anything. Conspiracies against the United States government. working like broadcast, professional microphones, professional light, weighing in on anti-American government conspiracies, paranoid delusions spread by the Russian Federation as active measures against this country, participating in a psychological warfare campaign against the United States of America with YouTube's help every step of the way. They do nothing to unite. They do everything to divide, all while taking every last little legal possible way to fuck this country over. And everything they do, they can only do within the limits of reason and having excuses to do so. They have to have a rational, not even a justification really. Like the shit that they say is why they do something. All you got to do is think of another possible reason why they might do that, and you'll probably come up with the right answer. Usually it's as simple as just asking, would Russia want them to do that then? And then you can find exactly why Russia would want them to do that then. Every little algorithmic change, every little ad revenue change, every little content change they've made. Even the responses of these fucking shill networks talking about their being suppressed, that's all coordinated. That's literally cover for the changes that they're actually making. Like, okay, the little redhead Russian girl. They're talking about today. I forget her fucking name now. She in 2015 was at a little press conference thing that Trump was holding, and asked him a question, and he like, oh, friend of Obama, you know, because she's from Russia, right? And I sat there and listened to these talking heads analyze this as if he wasn't expecting her to be there, as if this wasn't all just a play from, you know, his line, Obama, that was premeditated. That was trying to paint himself as a typical Republican. Russians, lefties. He was trying to pull that shit off. And he had his whole line ready about, we're going to get along fine once we can deal with them from a position of strength. Okay, that was pre-planned fucking rhetoric. I don't know how I know? Because he doesn't feel that way, and he's not smart enough to come up with that bullshit on the fly. And that Russian agent isn't going to make her public debut in an uncalculated format. The entire thing was effective in a tactically perfect way. Yeah, believe it or not, Trump in that moment acted perfectly tactically correct. He could not have, I mean, there could not have been a better setup for the bullshit that he was about to pull than that Russian girl doing that at the time. I remember when it happened at the time, like this bitch is playing defense and throwing him a softball. And I thought that before he said, friend of Obama. I threw up in my mouth a little when he said that shit. Because that's when I knew for certain, oh, this is so fucking staged. Staged. It's bullshit. Look at my new house drawing, because it's pretty. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work, because it's that way. Shit. As long as the page don't fold down. That's not a drawing per se, so forgive my lack of artistic detail. It's a design. I wanted to see how a roof I was trying to imagine actually looked. So I had to draw it out. But I like that house, man. That is cool. I'm gonna have to probably get this rich guy I know to build one for himself, just so I can like look at it and be like, cool. How lucky, lucky, lucky for me that I should happen to get involved with a bunch of real estate stockbroker types all of a sudden. Patience is a virtue, but I think anger is a gift or something. Is that you, Conway? Who's watching right now? Just think of that house. Those it's like an estate kind of, and those sections are let's see here, 40 feet wide each. So it's like 3 square houses just kind of attached to each other. That's all. make it wouldn't need to have a little lower sitting. Just keep shit that is less sensitive. But anyways, with it. Premise of my flood-proof brick house, make it float inside the brick. I'll tell you what the secret to having a fireproof house is. Angled wall. You don't think a vertical wall is that much trouble until a fucking burning log leans up against it. The problem there is an angled can be made to stay wet. You can have a waterfall going down an angled wall. It's hard to get